So I talked about the T-Wolves situation in the Edwards video, but I want to specifically talk about Karl-Anthony Towns. And I mean, there's a chance he does a Bradley Beal and just wants to stay no matter what. But, given that this season is a wash, mainly because of injuries, but it's still a wash, I think we can look at Towns' contract as having 3 seasons left. And with the way it goes, it's usually when a guy has 2 years left on his deal, the rumors start coming out. That's what happened with AD, Paul George. And we would just assume that the same thing will happen with Towns. And in a way, you could say that they only have next season as their last grace period year before the pressure is really on them. And when you think about that, and you also think about just project the teams in the Western Conference who are going to be bad over the next couple of seasons to help out the Wolves, most of them are going to try to keep winning. I mean, maybe Houston if they trade some guys, maybe OKC if they get off of some of their veterans. But besides that, it's like everybody's going to be trying to win. So nobody's going to do the Wolves any favors here. It's going to be tough. And if we can project, let's just say doomsday scenario for Minnesota, Towns has said, I want out a couple years from now, right? Well, Houston's got 1 million picks now because of the Harden trade and other trades. The Thunder have 1 million picks. The Pelicans have 1 million picks. But of course, if Towns is really available, then it's going to be almost every team in the league trying to get him. So, yeah, but now we just think, well, can this Wolves situation become a lot better maybe overnight if we think about just the end of this season going into next season? I mean, there's a chance they don't get their draft pick. They could finish top 3 in the lottery, and there's still a 60% chance they don't get the thing, so that's rough right there. Do we think Edwards is going to have a huge turnaround in year 2? It's possible. I mean, he's looked better off the pick and roll. His 3, it's up and down, but up implies it could be up all the time, if that makes any sense. You hope just a healthy D'Lo and Towns makes them relevant right there. But still, it's tough. I mean, you look at some of these other young guys, and maybe one of them could really take off. I mean, Culver, the jump shot is non-existent. Okogie, pretty similar thing. You could argue that Jalen Noel, who was their G League guy, who was really good in the G League and has way more of a three-point shot and more of an off-the-dribble game than Culver and Okogie, he could be better than both of those guys right now. Jared Vanderbilt is an athlete and a defender. Is he your perfect power forward next to Towns? I mean, he certainly gives you more defense than Towns does. He could also get in the way on offense, but you could also make it work by having him be a screen setter and that sort of thing. Naz Reid has had quite a few good moments this year. My question with him is, can he play next to Towns? Because if he can't, then, I mean, sure, he still matters, but he doesn't really matter, if we're being honest. And then you got Jaden McDaniels, who's also shown good things on defense, similar to Vanderbilt. They got a whole bunch of guys. They need somebody to become awesome, and they need it to happen kind of fast. I think the next question is, should the Wolves look to make a trade for a first this offseason so they can at least guarantee themselves 1 pick? I mean, maybe they will get their pick. If it falls top 3 in the lottery, they'll get it, but the odds suggest it's going to go to the Warriors. I mean, they could try. It's just, who's the guy? I mean, the idea of trading Beasley for a first, I mean, I get it, but it's also like you're going to trade him and then you hope the guy that you select with the pick is as good as Beasley one day. Rubio, I don't think Rubio gets you a first. The only scenario I could picture is if you were trading for somebody on a longer contract and, Rubio's an expiring, but even then, don't really think so. So then it's like, well, could some combination of Hernangomez, Culver, Okogie, McDaniels, Vanderbilt, Noel, Reed, whatever the combo is among all those guys, could that get you a first rounder? Maybe. I mean, it depends, who's desperate enough to take on some young players. I don't think they should trade Noel. He might be the one guy who other teams would be really excited about. I mean, maybe Naz Reid, maybe. We'll just see. That depends on the offers, and I don't know what the offers would be. And that's kind of it. I mean, they have no cap space to make a play in free agency this offseason, unless a free agent wanted to come here via a sign and trade, but I'm not betting on that one happening. I mean, sure, they could use a mid-level, I believe. They might have to cut off a little bit of money, but that's not going to get you a difference maker. It could get you a solid rotation piece, which they're desperate to have right now, but yeah, man, I mean, I try to picture the perfect team for what they have right now. Like, what is the ideal starting five? And it's probably D'Lo, a good Rubio, which of course has not been a thing this year for the most part. Towns, probably Malik Beasley, and then that last spot. I mean, the easy pick is Edwards, but there's a chance that Edwards should not be the starter if he's going to still be up and down, which is fine. I mean, the dude's 19 years old. It's just for the sake of trying to win as many games as possible in the moment. I mean, maybe it would be better to have more of a lockdown guy who just keeps the ball moving as opposed to Edwards, who's going to take more shots, and some games is going to go 5 for 15, and other games he's going to go like 7 for 9 or something. But at the same time, you still want Edwards developing, so it's a tough spot to be in. And I don't know what the exact solution is, but there's a chance the Wolves are going to have to get a little reckless. Again, don't trade a pick or anything, but I mean, they did that once. They traded for D'Lo, and that was them being like, well, if we don't do this, then our chances of keeping Towns are pretty much non-existent, and for their sake, you would hope they don't have to do it again, but they might have to do it again. Also, random subplot, they could really use Hernan Gomez getting back to the shooter that he was last season. I think that would help a lot. And so I ask myself once again, as I'm talking about all these young guys and some sort of moves that the Wolves could do, and the chance of that Warriors pick, or their pick going to the Warriors, do they really have enough time to turn this around for Towns to want to stay? I mean, for what it's worth, like if they're healthy next year, and let's say they get one guy who on the free agent market with their mid-level, Edwards has a nice second-year jump, and we'll say Noel is a rotation guy. If they bring back Vanderbilt, or if McDaniels is that guy, is it crazy to believe that team could win 37 games or something if Chris Finch is good? I don't think so. I think that's certainly possible. That still might not be enough. I mean, I don't know. It depends on Towns, right? And of course, the other thing we got to remember with the NBA is just because you have a bit of a jump doesn't mean you're going to keep going. I mean, we saw with Sacramento, they had that one year where they came out of nowhere and they fell right back down to earth. The Bucks did a similar thing back in the Jason Kidd days. It's not a guarantee that you're going to keep going. So the point being, once again, for the Wolves, they need some things to really go their way over the next couple of seasons. And if they don't, hell, things could go their way, and they might already be in such a hole that Towns is going to be gone no matter what. But yeah, they need some breaks. If they could get the first pick in the draft again, that would certainly help them out.